Hi folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead. So I get a lot of emails, or starting to, and I'm really enjoying that. And I want to encourage you to keep doing it. The problem is I didn't really think ahead of time. I never thought that, what I'm doing was really going to pick up a lot of steam, and it's kind of starting to. And the email that I posted online, or on this channel that I've given people out, is an email account that I've had for like 10 years or more. So as you can imagine, I get a lot of email, just junk stuff in the email, things that I don't care about. And what has happened is that as you folks are sending me emails, occasionally I miss one, just because of all the junk that's in it. So I have created a new email account that's solely dedicated to this channel for you folks to get a hold of me. That way I'm hoping, and it's programmed into my phone so that I can see it, and I'll check it as often as I can. Excuse me. And I'm going to put a link in this video, and then I'm changing it on the channel. You can go to the contacts, it'll be there. It's setaparthomestead19@gmail.com. setaparthomestead19@gmail.com. And that way I'm hoping that I won't miss your emails, because I've found out, going through, I'm like, oh my goodness, I got this 2 weeks ago. Now, that being said, we do live out in the sticks, and right now we're having a lot of trouble with internet service. I probably should do a completely separate video on this, but I'll try to cover this quickly so at least you understand. For quite a while when we moved here, we didn't have any internet service. And we found out that well, not local, but one of these telephone companies' lines ran within just a few feet of the edge of our property. So I ended up contacting them, and they said, sure, we can connect you. So they did. Well, after we ordered it, it took them 3 months to come out and do that. And since then, I think the average is they're here about every 4 to 5 weeks, because it just doesn't work. The phone, it was one of those phone and DSL packages, which it's unusual when you live this far out that you can get that. But it just so happened that, they had one of their main lines, running through here between two towns, and they were able to connect us. And it's been horrible, horrible service. For those of you that understand bandwidths and speed, our average speed, uploads or download speed, on our internet here at the house is somewhere around 0.03 to 0.07. Sometimes it's 0.10. And occasionally they'll come out and they'll fix it, and it'll jump up to pretty decent speed for a day or two, and then it's gone again. So we're dropping them, and we're trying to get another, figure another option out. And you say, well, there's cell phone. Well, cell phone, we don't get any reception at all. I have to walk up to the top of one of the mountains back here to get a cell reception, and it's just a big inconvenience. I do it. Do it. It's a good little walk for me, and I do it. There's a clearing, and but it's just inconvenient, and so it makes it difficult to respond to things, because I can't get a good reception or good signal at the house. Originally, satellite was out of the, was not an option, because apparently there were too many people on their system in this area, but I guess they've recently upgraded, and so now they said that they can put us on the system. So hopefully in the next few weeks that will be set up. So I said all that I respond as quickly as I can, but sometimes I just can't because of internet. And then of course I have lost a few emails because I've put the wrong email address in, or I used an old email address. So I've created this new email address, and hopefully I'll be able to respond to you folks a lot easier and faster. Now, on to the video. Hollywood apocalypse versus real world SHTF. This is more of just kind of a talk. I don't know that I really have a lot of specifics to teach or to pass on. I don't think there's probably anyone watching this that hasn't seen at least some type of either movie or TV show of these, end of the world apocalyptic type movies. There's a lot of them, and they seem to go in cycles that every few years, several come out, whether it's TV shows or movies. One of the more recent popular ones, and I don't even know if it's still on because we don't have TV service, was The Walking Dead. I couldn't remember it for a second. The Walking Dead. And of course it's zombies, but it's still, you know, this apocalypse type of thing into the world. And I'm not a zombie kind of person. I only watched a couple episodes of that. But anyways, so I'm sure we've all seen it. You know, you can go all the way back to Mad Max, and there were a few before them, before that movie. Up till now, there's been a lot. Well, you know, are those movies accurate? Is there anything that we can learn from them, or is it just entertaining? And is there any positive or negative by watching those, thinking that there may be some accuracy? So and this is all opinion, you know, so feel free to jump in and tell me your opinion, and that's okay. This is just my opinion. In my experiences, and I'm not a big TV or movie watcher, but in my experiences, Hollywood does a real poor job of telling, you know, of showing accuracy and reality and truth. They're good at entertaining, but even movies that are based on a book or based on a true story usually fall short of actually telling the true story. So it's the same way with these apocalyptic movies. They're there to get you in the seat, to sell you a ticket or to sell you a movie or whatever. They don't care whether it's accurate or not. So while you may occasionally find something in a movie or a TV show that is accurate or that is a good thing that you can do to plan, you know, kind of emulate what you saw. Oh, that's a good idea. We should do that, honey. The reality is most of it's inaccurate. It's a lot of hype. So how does that affect us in a real world situation? Is that a good or bad thing? I think that in one way, the Hollywood movies, especially the increase of the apocalyptic type movies, has gotten people thinking a little bit more down those roads. And not all those movies were just kind of weird, you know, zombies. There have been some pretty legitimate movies that, you know, show a pretty legitimate situation that could likely happen and how people, you know, deal with it. So I think it's opened some people's eyes that, wow, you know, maybe we should kind of prepare. And so it gets people more involved in preparedness. And like, I believe it's Pastor Joe Fox over Viking Preparedness says, I'm pretty sure it's him, that it's a good thing to get more people involved in preparedness, because then when something happens, that's less people that's going to try to come and, you know, take your things that you're going to have to deal with, because they're prepared also. So, you know, it's a good thing to get more people prepared. And so in that sense, I guess some of those movies might do a good job. The problem is that they don't show a real good, you know, showing of reality. Now, of course, you know, we've not gone through any kind of end-of-the-world apocalyptic situation, but we do go through, as a people, as a planet, we go through SHTFs all the time, all over the country, all over the world. And so we can look at those as examples of what could happen in something really big. Of course, when it's really big, yes, people's attitudes are going to change. Their behavior is going to change because they realize that this isn't just a hurricane, this is the end of the world. So, of course, their behavior will change. But it does give us a little insight of how things are going to happen. So, don't just, you know, don't watch these movies with the intent of trying to really figure out how to do things. There is a lot of hype, you know. I've seen movies where, you know, people, you know, basically the whole country is just gone to cannibalists. You know, everyone's a bunch of cannibalists, and they're all trying to run from each other, and people are hiding out that don't want to eat each other, and there's these packs of, you know, wild humans cannibalizing each other. I mean, I guess that's a possibility, but I don't really think that will happen. You know, the reality is, when things happen, you know, disaster strikes, the majority of people actually pull together and help each other out. Now, I know you say, yeah, but they haven't, like, they're not really starving or run out of food yet because, you know, aid comes in. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And we have not seen a great example of how people would react when, you know, there is no hope of someone coming. when you are completely on your own. So of course that could change. But I have helped out in different disasters. I've helped out in big ice storms. I've helped out in a hurricane, Katrina, the tornadoes that leveled Joplin a few years ago. And so I've seen how people behave to give you at least a little kind of a heads up of what you might be facing. And I know Bear Independent, TJ, he just came back from down in Florida, and you need to watch, if you haven't, go over to his channel and watch his videos on what he did down there and helping people out. And I believe it was Panama City, Florida. Excellent videos. But, you know, yeah, there's going to be people that's going to come and try to take your things, and there's going to be, you know, bands of marauders that, you know, most likely. But there are still going to be a lot of people that are just decent people, and they still don't, you know, they're not quite to that level that they're willing to start killing people and eating each other. So don't just watch these movies and TV shows and say, hey, that's what it's like, let's get prepared. They're very unrealistic. Another thing that's very unrealistic, and I mentioned this in a video, I believe last week, on bugging out, so I want to kind of cover it a little bit more, is these movies, they typically show people bugging out. You know, that's the cool thing. And I have this, you know, concern that there are many people that are becoming into the preparedness movement for the sole reason of bugging out. But that's their only plan. They're just going to bug out, you know. Well, again, I'm quoting the Joe Fox over at Viking Preparedness. You know, if that's your only plan, then that's not a good one, you know. Bugging out is like your last, you know, all the way through your contingency plan, and the very last one is bugging out. But yet in these TV shows, they show it the opposite, that as soon as something happens, everyone bugs out. You know, they leave the city, they pack their pack on, and they go, and then they're pulling out their knives and their guns and stuff, and they're fighting each other off, and the hero wins, and blah, blah, blah. And he eventually finds this place where it's all nice and peaceful, and, you know, there's a little colony that's, you know, kind of sprung up out of nowhere, and he finally makes it there, and it's a happy ending. You know, he meets some woman, and blah, blah, blah. That's not a good reality, and that's one of the things that movies and TV show, is they show people bugging out a lot. The only one that I can really think of that did not show that, and I thought was one of the ones that did the closest of showing what the reality is of, you know, when SHTF happens, is that TV show Jericho. And it was only on for a season or two, and it got canceled. That's been several years ago. I think you can watch it on things like Netflix or something. They did a fairly good job, I thought, of showing, you know, this town. You know, people weren't bugging out. They were trying to rebuild their town and working together. There were some inaccuracies, of course, but they did a pretty good job in that show. But that's the problem, is they show people bugging out. They show people being able to do, they make bugging out look really simple and easy, and it's not. They make it look like you can just, you know, if you get your little Boy Scout manual on how to, you know, forage, well, you can just go into the woods and you can live off the woods. Well, I'm really good at foraging, and I've done it a long time, and we do it every year. In fact, we put up a lot of food that we forage. And I'll tell you right now, at my level, I'd starve to death out here, okay? Because it's just that time of the year that there's nothing out there growing. And that's the reality of these things. And they don't show that in movies. They make it look like that everywhere you go is this lush, you know, tropical forest where you can just pull bananas and apples off trees and you'll be fine. You know, and you just happen to put a trap up, and 5 minutes later it's got an animal in it. You know, that's not how it works. I mean, you know, I've set snares and stuff, and set many of them. You know, I'll set 10 or 12 and wait days and still have nothing. So there's a lot of things they don't show the reality of, and bugging out is a big one, and it bugs me to death. So, you know, if you want to watch these movies and TV, and I'm not advocating watching movies and TV because most of it's all junk anymore anyways. I've said this before, you know, I ought to do a video on it just so everyone can laugh and make fun of us. We didn't have any TV or anything for a long time. I'm going to run down a rabbit hole real quick. And I went to this thrift shop, and they had one of them old tube TVs, 19-inch, and it had a VCR built into it, and it worked for $3. And it just so happened that it was one of these thrift shops that the money goes to some charity, that someone had donated just almost a truckload of VHS, and most all of them were these old movies. There were a few newer movies, but almost all of them. We're talking like Old Yeller and Pollyanna, and you know, back when Disney made good movies, things like that. So I bought TV and like 400 VHS tapes, and I, you know, paid less than like 20 bucks for all of it. So anyways, so that's our occasional entertainment, but it's nothing, you know, they don't even make new movies on VHS. Anyways, I don't even remember what I was talking. I interrupted myself. You know, these movies, they're not very accurate, and they're not a good place to go and learn stuff. You know, everyone's superhuman, and the gear always works, and it's super ultra high-speed tactical, and then they always show you know, things in the absolute worst, dramatic, intense things. Will it be bad and intense? Absolutely. But don't watch those movies to get an idea of what's going to happen, to learn. You know, there's YouTube channels, there's books, there's your fellow man that's, you know, the guy that's served in the military or that's an outdoor survivalist type. That's where you're going to learn from. And then also just by going out here and doing it. So I don't know if the term would be armchair quarterbacking it or whatever, but I'm excited that preparedness has become more normalized, in the sense that there are more people getting on board with it. There's a lot of people doing it, but the downside is that, you know, they're doing it because they watched it in a movie or something, and they think it's cool, and they're going to be all ultra tactical and bug out and look like Rambo, and that's not the reality. So be cautious about those movies, about trying to think you're going to learn something from them. And I'd be cautious about, you know, someone that's supposedly really into preparedness, but that's their, you know, idea of preparedness, is watching some zombie apocalypse movie. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. It was just something I had thought of a few days ago, and I thought maybe that'd be a good topic for a video. Hollywood versus the real world SHTF. Alright, thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video.